If your feet always stay cold, tingle late at night, or feel like they are half asleep when you stand up, you might be tempted to just shrug and call it a part of getting older. That misses the real problem because after 60, circulation often starts slowing down in very quiet ways. You usually notice it first at the very ends of the body, right down in the feet and toes, where blood has the hardest trip to make from the heart. When that flow drops off, your nerves don't get the oxygen or nutrients they need to function properly. The resulting numbness, burning pins and needles, and that strange, tight feeling in your soles can build up little by little until it starts affecting your sleep and your balance. You might even lose confidence when you walk. But there is one old home trick that sounds a bit odd until you understand how the feet actually work. Your feet usually tell the story of your health before the rest of your body does, mostly because they sit farthest from your heart and depend on a massive network of tiny blood vessels to stay warm and responsive. As the years go by, those small vessels can lose their flexibility, which means blood doesn't move through them as freely as it once did. This is especially true if a person deals with blood sugar issues, sits for long periods, or struggles with chronic inflammation. That change isn't always dramatic when it first starts, and it often looks like feet that stay cold even under a heavy blanket or toes that feel numb every single morning. Some people notice they can't tell hot from cold as well as they used to, while others feel a sharp burning at night followed by a dull heaviness during the day. Neuropathy often begins this way because the longest nerves in your body reach the feet first, and those long nerves are the most exposed when your circulation and metabolic health start to slip. The thing most people miss is that your nerves and your blood flow are tied together in a constant loop. Nerves need the oxygen and nutrients carried by the blood, but your blood vessels also depend on nerve signals to tell them when to tighten and relax. When your circulation drops, the nerves suffer immediately, and when those nerves get irritated, the circulation can get even worse. That is why foot discomfort often turns into a frustrating cycle instead of staying a small annoyance. There is another part of this that people don't think about enough, which is that cold feet don't just feel unpleasant. They actually change how you move because you start tensing your calves and shifting your weight differently to compensate for the lack of feeling. You might walk less naturally because your feet don't feel steady on the floor, and then you move less overall, which means even less blood flow reaches your lower legs. Warming the feet can help interrupt that downward spiral, and when the feet feel warm, the local blood vessels tend to open up more. The area becomes less tight, and the nervous system reads that warmth as a safer and calmer signal. While this doesn't replace walking or medical care, it works from the outside by waking up the skin and the nerve endings right where the problem is easiest to feel. Your foot skin matters here because it is quite thin in certain areas and packed with sensory nerves that are ready to respond. When you place a warming substance near that skin, you aren't asking the whole body to respond first, but instead, you are starting at the local level. This direct approach is exactly why simple foot-based remedies have stayed around for so many generations. Long before circulation creams and pain gels ever showed up on pharmacy shelves, people used warming plants in very simple ways to find relief. In different folk traditions, herbs and spices were tucked into cloth, rubbed into socks, or placed near the feet to create gentle heat where the body tended to feel coldest. It sounds old-fashioned, and honestly it is, but old-fashioned doesn't always mean pointless. Sometimes it just means people found something useful before there was a product label for it. The idea is actually pretty simple. If blood tends to stall in cold, poorly stimulated feet, then giving the feet a mild, warming trigger can encourage movement in that exact spot, not by force and not by magic, but by stimulation. Certain spices contain natural compounds that create a warming sensation when they touch the skin. That sensation sends a message through local nerves, and those nerves can influence the tiny vessels underneath. When those vessels relax, more blood can move through the area. This is where thermogenic spices come in. Thermogenic just means they create heat or a feeling of heat. Cinnamon and cayenne do that in different ways, but both are known for waking up circulation at the surface. On the feet, that matters because the soles and sides contain a dense web of nerve endings. A warming signal there doesn't stay isolated. It gets noticed fast by the nervous system. You might hear people connect this with reflexology, where parts of the foot are linked with areas of the body like the pancreas, kidneys, or digestive system. That part should be viewed carefully. Reflexology can be relaxing, and many people swear by it, but the safer way to understand this remedy is through local stimulation first, warming the skin, waking the nerves, and supporting blood flow in tissue that often gets neglected. That's enough to explain why some people feel relief without needing to turn it into something mystical. Another reason this practice keeps coming back is that it works differently from expensive creams. A lot of circulation creams rely on menthol or camphor for a cooling then warming feel, and that can be pleasant, but kitchen spices bring their own active compounds. They also cost very little, which matters if you're trying something every day and don't want a routine that gets dropped after 1 week. Still, simple doesn't mean careless. Warming compounds can irritate skin if you overdo them, especially on feet that are already sensitive. So the goal isn't maximum heat. The goal is enough stimulation to wake the area up, not punish it. Once you get that right, the method starts making a lot more sense, and that brings us to the best spice to start with, cinnamon. Cinnamon is the best place to start because it gives you a warming effect without the sharp punch that stronger spices can bring. If your feet are sensitive or you've never tried anything like this before, cinnamon is usually the more comfortable option. It creates a steady warmth instead of a harsh flare, and for a daily habit, that matters a lot because a remedy only helps if you'll actually keep using it. The main compound people talk about in cinnamon is cinnamaldehyde. That's what gives cinnamon its smell and a lot of its warming feel. On the skin, it can create mild stimulation that makes the area feel more alive. And that's exactly what many older adults want in feet that feel dull, cold, or slow to respond. Not hot, not irritated, just more awake than before. There's also a circulation angle that makes cinnamon more interesting than it first sounds. Some research on cinnamon and its active compounds points to effects on nitric oxide pathways, and nitric oxide helps blood vessels relax. When vessels relax, blood can move more freely. We shouldn't overstate that because putting cinnamon in your shoes is not the same as taking a medical treatment, but the idea behind it tracks well with why people often report warmer feet after trying it. Cinnamon also gets attention because of blood sugar. That matters because unstable blood sugar can wear down the tiny vessels and nerves in the feet over time. So when people talk about cinnamon and nerve health, they're usually talking about two connected issues at once: circulation, and glucose handling. It's not a cure for neuropathy and it doesn't replace proper care, but it fits the bigger picture better than most people realize. If you remember nothing else, remember this: nerves hate poor circulation, and they also hate blood sugar swings. Cinnamon gets talked about in both conversations, which is why it makes so much sense as the first spice to test. There are different kinds of cinnamon, and this clicked for me when I realized most people don't know they're buying two very different products. Ceylon cinnamon is often called true cinnamon, and it's the gentler choice for regular use. Cassia cinnamon is more common in stores and has a stronger taste, but it also contains much more coumarin, a compound you don't want in large, repeated amounts. Since this method is about regular exposure and not a one-time kitchen trick, Ceylon is the smarter pick when you can find it. And the first few times you use cinnamon this way, don't expect fireworks. What most people notice is subtle. Their feet feel warmer inside the socks. The toes don't feel as stiff. The soles may tingle a little more than usual, then settle into a softer, easier feeling. That mild response is actually a good sign. You want gentle stimulation, not a burning test of toughness. And once cinnamon feels too mild, or you want a stronger option for stubborn cold feet, that's where cayenne comes in. Cayenne works in a very different way than cinnamon, and you will likely feel that difference almost immediately. The active compound inside is called capsaicin, which is the exact same thing that gives hot peppers their heat. When you put it on your skin, capsaicin sends a much louder warming signal than cinnamon ever could, so this really isn't the beginner option for most people. It is the remedy people reach for when their feet stay icy, numb, or painfully dull, and they finally want something with a bit more bite. What makes capsaicin so interesting is that it does more than just create a sense of warmth. It actually interacts with your pain-signaling nerves, which is why you see capsaicin listed as a main ingredient in so many topical creams for nerve discomfort. While it can feel a bit intense at first, using it in a controlled way can actually reduce how strongly those pain signals get through to your brain. If your neuropathy shows up as burning, prickling, or those electric little stabs in the feet, cayenne might offer the kind of short-term relief that cinnamon usually can't provide. This spice also tends to boost your local blood flow much more aggressively than milder options. That stronger response is great if cinnamon only gave you a faint result, but it also means you have to show the dosage a lot more respect. Many people ruin this natural remedy because they think more powder will automatically lead to better circulation. That isn't how it works. Using too much cayenne can quickly turn a helpful warming effect into straight irritation that your skin won't thank you for. So, how do you decide which one to use? Cinnamon is a great fit for daily use, sensitive feet, or anyone who is just getting started with this method. Cayenne is better for people who already know their skin handles warming products well and want a more powerful effect for shorter sessions. You might even find that alternating them works best, using cinnamon most days of the week and saving the cayenne for once or twice when your feet feel especially cold or uncomfortable. That alternating approach helps for another reason, because your body can actually get used to the same sensation over time. Changing the level of stimulation every few days keeps the response more noticeable, so your nerves don't just tune it out. Just remember to keep the process simple. You should never mix both spices heavily at the same time, and you shouldn't try to chase the strongest heat possible. The real goal here is better comfort and less numbness, not proving how much heat your skin can take. The simplest way to try this is to use about 1 teaspoon of powder for both shoes combined, rather than putting a full spoonful into each one. You want to sprinkle a light amount where the ball of your foot and your heel will rest. Then spread it out evenly so you don't end up with one hot patch in a single spot. After you have the powder ready, put on a thin cotton sock before your foot goes into the shoe or slipper. That sock barrier matters more than people think because it softens the contact and makes the warming sensation feel much steadier. Nighttime is usually the best time to try this because cold feet and tingling often get worse when you finally slow down for the day. Starting with just 15 to 20 minutes for the first few sessions will give you a chance to see how your skin responds. If everything feels fine after those first few tries, you can slowly work your way up to a longer session. Some people prefer to use it while they are sitting down in the evening, while others wear their shoes around the house for a short stretch before bed. Before you even start, you need to take a good look at your feet. If you see any cuts, cracks, blisters, or any kind of sore that you wouldn't want to get salt on, you should definitely skip the spice that day. Once you finish your session, check your skin again to see how it looks. A mild feeling of warmth is perfectly fine, and a little bit of pinkness can happen, but burning that keeps building or skin that looks angry means you need to wash it off and stop. Cayenne needs extra respect in this area because the heat can really linger if you overdo it, and there are a few people who should probably skip this entirely unless a doctor says it is okay. This includes anyone with open wounds, very fragile skin, or severe numbness that makes it hard to judge how hot something feels. If you have diabetes, checking your feet carefully before and after you use the powder matters even more because you might not feel the irritation right away. You shouldn't expect a dramatic fix overnight, but most people who enjoy this method notice their feet feeling warmer first. After several days, you might start to feel less stiffness or lose that dead, wooden feeling in your toes. To keep that benefit going, try to move your ankles and toes for 1 full minute right after you take your shoes off. This simple habit keeps the area active and keeps the blood moving instead of letting your feet go cold again. Getting older shouldn't mean your feet have to feel cold, numb, or completely forgotten. Small daily habits usually work much better than waiting for a painful flare-up before trying to fix everything at once, and staying consistent for just 2 weeks can make your feet feel warmer and easier to trust when you stand up. You should try the cinnamon version tonight. Keep things gentle and really listen to what your own feet are telling you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.